I think today was a political decision by the Democrats. And I think the things they have done in the past hurt the institution. When they just started removing people from committee, and they just started doing the other things. And my fear is the institution fell today. Because you can't do the job if 8 people, you have 94% or 96% of your entire conference, but 8 people can partner with the whole other side. How do you govern?
How do you govern it? I mean, you mentioned that you hear the examples that Kevin McCarthy gave there. He said that, where these Democrats took people off committees and did other things. It's very Donald Trumpian the way that he gave details of what he's so upset about the Democrats did. They took people off committees. Who did they take off committees and why did they take them off committees? Were they racist? Were they threatening folks? Were they putting out things that told their followers and supporters that they should potentially have daydreams of murdering any political opponents? Was that some of it that they were taken off committees for because they were acting like rogue people throughout the country that want to commit violence against political enemies of theirs? Maybe that's just the reason. The one thing that you gave an example of without the context of what is that people were kicked off their committees for. Hakeem Jeffries talked to. We're going to pump through these. Let's go to Hakeem Jeffries.
We encourage our Republican colleagues who claim to be more traditional to break from the extremists. In the chaos, in the dysfunction, in the extremism, we are ready, willing, and able to work together with our Republican colleagues, but it is on them to join us to move the Congress and the country forward.
By the way, Brett, really fast, because I said this yesterday to Dave and I mentioned to someone else in the studio. Matt Gaetz wanted certain things. His part of his concessions, of course, people are hearing about the control he had, but he wants different approaches to how they legislate, how they go through bills and itemized things, specifically pointing out some of the things, but it was all based in more spending cuts for regular folks while giving more handouts to the rich and corporations. So that's the basis for his politics behind it. But oddly, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm willing to hear the actual reasons behind this if I am, everything that Matt Gaetz has been doing towards Kevin McCarthy is everything that he said he would do based off of what he wants. Who knows if it's reality that that's what he wants? But everything he said has been exactly what we could expect. It's not like when Matt Gaetz did this, I went, oh my God, Matt Gaetz is actually looking to take out Kevin McCarthy because he didn't agree to these very specific things going back to just after pandemic levels of spending, when they've done all these different things in a certain way for a particular reason. And because they didn't go back to that, he's ready to take them out. He said he was going to do that. You should have agreed to it in the first place.
They are who we thought they were.
Maybe that's a principle for him. I don't know. Maybe Matt Gaetz is principled and he's just a bad principled person. I don't know.
Matt Gaetz is not principled. Matt Gaetz is really good at seeming principled to people that want to see principle in Matt Gaetz's action. Matt Gaetz is a Nepo baby who had everything given to him in his entire life. His dad was a huge political operative in that district, Florida 1. Matt Gaetz, despite his horrible history and childhood and things that would have gotten you kicked out if you were just some random person that would have sabotaged your entire career, Matt Gaetz's dad just was like, let's get rid of this DUI. He can have the Coke parties and still make it. Matt Gaetz is really opportunistic. And Matt Gaetz had the numbers. Kevin McCarthy's job is to hold the caucus together. Matt Gaetz's job is to lift up Matt Gaetz and essentially shift the Overton window to this like Trumpian new world. But look at the numbers. There's still only 8 people with Matt Gaetz, and half of them are just like, I don't know, I didn't like the guy. That's it. So Matt Gaetz he is who we thought he is who we thought he was. Fine. Kevin McCarthy, that first clip you played is proof that he should have lost his job. He should never have had that job because his argument is he is shocked that politics is political. And he is shocked that Democrats didn't support him. You're a Republican, idiot. Like, all of this is a guy who thinks he's smarter than he is, proving that he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
That was the plan. I mean, look, and you mentioned Pelosi and how she held the conference together and she was leader, speaker and all this. Both she and Kevin McCarthy, I think, partially get those positions because they raised a lot of money and get people elected. And that's part of what he was complaining about a little bit too. And someone asked him, what would you have done differently? He goes, well, I got a lot of the people who voted against me elected. Maybe I wouldn't have given them that much money. And he was getting taunting messages about how he gave $3 million to one person. I think it was Nancy Mace, particularly he was talking about. So maybe he's reflecting and seeing how this all worked out, but reflection has never worked for these types of Republicans that find themselves standing next to Donald Trump, kissing his ring and visiting him and telling him how much they support him and love him despite all the things that he's done. But it still comes back to bite him in the ass, which I wonder what he's thinking right now. Apparently there was something of him walking out of his office with the box under his arm because he's not been kicked out. That's just the way they are. There's one last section of this though. One little, by the way, your points about Matt Gaetz absolutely I take those very seriously because there's a thing about him. Those things are beginning to be hidden because of all the other traumatic and crazy things that are going on in the country. He's got a guy that's a bigger name than him, Donald Trump, that does more outlandish things so he can fly under the radar. But again, he said from the beginning, I'm an agent of chaos. Watch me destroy.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.